Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the channel. A very interesting day at the FIDE Candidates 2026. I didn't mention it yesterday, but Javokhir Sindarov had some of his preparation leaked. It doesn't seem like it was for this candidate. It seems like it's old prep, but some of his lead chess studies got leaked. Hasn't phased him at all. He's in consolidation mode. He makes another draw today. Had a slight edge against Matthias Bluebaum. Makes a draw very comfortable. Only one decisive result in the open section. That was in this game, which featured, oh my gosh, a king brilliancy. Double exclam, triple exclam, king move to win the game from one of these players. It is on one of the thumbnails that will be going up. And then a couple decisive results in the women's section. Very important stuff there, so we'll get to those in just a moment. But Anish Giri versus Fabiano Caruana. Fabi and Anish both on the same points. Fabiano employs the Italian game and bishop c5. And the thing is, both these players now have to start winning. If someone loses, it's great for the guy who wins because he closes the gap on Sindarov. Both of these guys on 4.5 going in here. But for the guy who loses, they're done. They're basically done. They would have to win basically all their 5 remaining games to try and catch Sindarov, who's on like +6. So we have a very quiet Italian. Gioco pianissimo, where the players maneuver and maneuver and maneuver, and this has been seen before. And like, this is classical Italian stuff. You're putting the knights here, the knights reroute, the bishop is here, the queen goes here, the bishop. The only question is, do you take, do you push? Does this bishop reopen? It's very subtle positions. Fabiano has spent some time, which is interesting, because if you go watch, FIDE did a video where they're like, who's one of the most well-prepared players? And everyone was saying Caruana. I mean, not today and not yesterday. He allows his light squared bishop to be taken. He does then push d5. But what he does then is he first deploys the dark squared bishop to g5 and then brings it back. Makes Giri commit to this move, but black is slightly better. And even when this takes, he decides, right, I'm going to open the F file. I'm not going to allow this knight in. And he should be quite solid. Time advantage is now about equal. And now he's got the F file to try and fight on. He can still put his knight there. But doubling your pawns like this can be very weakening, especially because like you've already pushed d5. So both of these are incredibly weak. And one of them's on a light square. That bishop, if it ever gets to one of these squares, can target it. Not to mention the queen coming out to b6 is going to be a problem. So Anish doing a fantastic job. We get takes, and what happens very quickly is we get some pressure being built on the queen side with b4. b3 is now incredibly weak. It's got nothing to support it. Its neighbors were pushed and taken, and it can't go forward. So this pawn is now anchoring it. Yes, you can say this is weak, but what are you going to target it with? Your horse is over here, and your dark squared bishop is gone. So for that reason, Fabiano first plays king h2, and then after rook to a3 decides not to take. He doesn't want to take and do this. This is asking for a lot of trouble, because yes, you can bring your rook in here. I'm going to bring my rook. Or I'm going to bring my rook, and now this is weak. And yes, you can try and push it. I've got a light squared bishop, and my knight, can come back at some point. So we shall see. Anyway, so for that reason, Fabi plays rook a1. But now rook a2, queen drops back, we trade off a set of knights, and Anish Giri's just taken the whole a-file. His pieces are really coming alive. We get rook to e2, one of the best moves, queen a7, this is the top line, rook c1, top engine line here, queen b6, these guys playing properly. Knight to f3 is a bit of a mistake. It's really difficult in this position because what can you move? You also don't want to probably put your knight here because, is this position good for you? And it's really difficult to tell because black could even play a move like e4. It might be a mistake in this position, but I can defend that very quickly, and now I create a second weakness that you have to defend. So it's really difficult. Fabiano Caruana getting pressed here. We get h6. Knight e1 is his idea to then, take, and play knight to c2. To what end? Bishop e8. Remember I said if the bishop gets here, so Fabi using his knight to defend this, to maybe get access to a1 and to put pressure here. Queen d3, and Anish Giri is just better. We trade off the rooks, but c5. Inaccuracy because Fabi can take en passant, but he doesn't. He plays king g3 and is dead lost. Fabiano Caruana is dead lost. In time pressure, yes, king g3, a mistake made in time pressure. En passant is the best move, and it looks counterintuitive, because why would you allow this? Well, now I can see that, and I can play like knight c2. And the idea, and this is hard to spot in time pressure, is when bishop takes, you've got this incredible move, knight takes b4. I hit your queen, you hit my queen, and if you take my queen, I take, and this is most likely a draw for Fabiano Caruana. If we turn on the engine for just a moment, it is a draw. So he could have found this, but instead he tried to bring his king to the center. I play queen a7, queen b1, h5, and h4. And, oh, great, you brought your queen over, queen e7, and Fabiano Caruana loses the game. And this is the moment of the video. We have f5 check. E takes f5. The bishop is hanging. Anish Giri does not care. He plays the best move. Double exclam, triple exclam, quadruple exclam. King h6. Look at that. What's the threat? Well, firstly, if you take my bishop, e4. Because if you go away, you get mated with queen g5. Queen g5 mate. So you would have to like sack the queen, and I would still take and mate you. Queen e4 mate as well. Can't get away. Absolutely brilliant. Anish Giri takes down Fabiano Caruana. Everything else was a draw. Hikaru had a good-ish position against Esipenko, but couldn't quite break through. Praggnanandhaa missed a huge chance against Wei Yi. He was completely winning. He was completely winning for most of his game against Wei Yi. We'll just go through it very quickly. Again, it was like a Queen's Gambit declined where they eventually traded. It was one of these interesting lines that we've had before. And it wasn't anything too special. Pragg got a very quick attack. And that was the important thing. He got an attack. And while you're attacking, things can go awry. And then he just missed a chance here with the move Queen c6. That was... Queen c6 is the mistake. That's where he lost all his advantage. And then from here, Wei Yi defended brilliantly. We did have this awesome move f5. Sacrificing the knight. Because if you took this... So second brilliancy. But it didn't happen. And while Pragg threatened mate, he couldn't get anything. And eventually, the players traded off into a drawn endgame. And so that took us into the ladies section. And we can only start with the battle of the two Indians. Vaishali Rameshbabu, who sacrificed a queen the last time these two players met to secure a draw. She had the white pieces. We had her ready. And it was a double fianchetto offering a Nimzovich-Larsen kind of thing, which kind of becomes Catalan-adjacent. It's a fianchetto setup. Vaishali has not spent much time at all. She's well prepared. We get knight to c3, knight to e4, takes, and now the knight goes to e5. It's always interesting where you put the knight when it's attacked, because there might be a train of thought to like go back and now ask black how they defend this. But you might be able to get away with f5. And then you calculate the immediate like d5, looking to strike at everything. But honestly, there's nothing here. You just sack the pawn. And you have this, but now your knight's not in the game. So what do you do? So knight to e5 is a good move. Obviously, it's being played by a top player. F5 still played, and now f4. Trying to undermine everything, inviting en passant. I don't en passant, I play knight to f6. Couple inaccuracies from the two players, but they still begin shuffling. There's some pressure being built on the queen side. And again here, interesting decision to take with the pawn. Opening the b-file potentially with your bishop being hit, but that b-file could also be for you. You know, traditional chess wisdom says, you know, maybe play knight takes, but that knight's very powerful there. And, like, black might be happy with this transformation. So it's always fascinating when you get these transformations. How do you want the position to develop in a way that benefits you? You know, we let the engine run. It probably thinks white's slightly better. Oh, no, it thinks black is better because of the move g5. G5, okay. Anyway, b takes c6. White is better. Vaishali is better. So she does the right thing. She takes on c6. We get the rook coming back, and I just play d5. And she's just marching Divya down the board. Marching her, and knight d3. And the reason we cover this game is because Vaishali sacrifices the rook. For the first time in the game. Because, ladies and gentlemen, what this game quickly becomes about is rook sacrifices. We get this rook sacrifice from Divya. a defensive measure with the bishop coming back. And we get, ladies and gentlemen, a second rook sacrifice. The third of the game, rook b1. A second rook sacrifice for Vaishali. And a third of the game, the queen drops back. I take the bishop back. You play h5. That's perfectly fine. I offer a queen trade. And I sacrifice the rook for the third time in the game. It was a day for the brilliancies. There was one other decisive game in the women's section, and that was this one between Kateryna Lagno and Jiner. Zhu bouncing back and picking up, looking to climb the standings. We obviously had a 5-way tie going into this round. Only the two players that picked up victories continue to have the lead, as the players maneuvered, and black equalized very quickly, and we got into an endgame very quickly where we traded off a bunch of pieces. So what we have is knight versus bishop, but black has got a dreadful structure. Like 22 moves in, I know you're down 18 minutes. Kateryna spent a lot of time getting here. I do not understand why you would ever try and accept a structure like this. Like white has got 3 and 2. Black has got 1, 1. I mean, technically this is an island of 2, but how you get them together, I've got no idea. And this one. So 3 pawn islands versus 2. This is a weakness that has to be defended. That is a weakness. My rook gets to the second rank, and this is weak for the time being. So huge amount of weaknesses for Jiner to target. We get rook ed8. And king f1. There might be an idea for you to be like, oh, wait, I can win a pawn. No, you can hang a knight, because if you go down all this line, there's back rank. So you've got to be careful. So, we got all these exchanges. King to f1, takes, and now we get in here. How do you defend both? We don't. a4, this is the idea. Kateryna Lagno going for counterplay on the queen side. But I take a pawn. Take, and oh, I can target the pawn. Check. You slide over, I come back. Oh, h6, great. King to e2. Rook b4, that's fine. Knight comes back. Oh, you target my rook? Rook d3 is fine. It's good enough. Bishop g7. Can't go there. You can't go there. I'm targeting everything. I win another pawn. I'm now 2 pawns up. Is Jiner. She concedes one, but that's because she's going for the king. She picks up the bishop. And, knight versus pawn is not easy to defend, but I get the pawn back. That is the important thing, and what you miss is if you push and you say, I defend, you sack the rook. You sack the rook to get the fork. And this will never be winning for black. 1 pawn versus 2, I can sack the knight for free. And Jiner wins, and she takes down Kateryna Lagno. There was a very close game, which we'll just scan through. Anna Muzychuk, she applied a lot of pressure. She had a completely winning position against Zhongyi, but Zhongyi defended resiliently. She did her utmost best, and she defended this position against Anna Muzychuk, who's played phenomenally well considering she was a late replacement. And she did an amazing job. She made a mistake on move 34 after getting a completely winning position. Another mistake, and yeah, she just couldn't get anything more. She traded into the opposite color bishops, and she just had to make sure that her opponent didn't bribe her to lose the game. And that was about it. No bribery occurred there. The only other game was Bibisara versus Alexandra Goryachka, but they made a quiet draw at the end. So, the open section, as has been for the last however many rounds, Javokhir Sindarov still leads the open section in quite an impressive manner. The ladies or the women's section is led by Jiner and now Vaishali Rameshbabu. The two of them lead. There are players very close behind them, of course. Goryachka made a draw today, as did Anna Muzychuk, so they're just half a point behind. They're waiting for slip-ups. Still 5 more rounds to go. And the only person chasing down Sindarov in the open section is Anish Giri. Fabiano Caruana might be getting flashbacks to Madrid 2022, when he started very, very well, but Nepomniachtchi started better. And in order to chase Nepomniachtchi, he took massive amounts of risk, and ultimately just fell away. And Hikaru Nakamura and Ding Liren surpassed him in that tournament. Is it about to happen again? A second time for Fabiano Caruana. What do you think, ladies and gentlemen? What's going on? Also, 4 rook sacrifices in one game, 3 by one player, and a brilliant king move, a double exclam move, a triple exclam move, a quadruple exclam move. Today was the day for the absolutely brilliant.